Hey gang, in this video I'm going to break down the new Childish Japes single called Crossbreeze. So my band is called Childish Japes, that's with Asher Kurtz, Jed Lingett, and we're putting out an album called Matters of Life and Death that features the incredible singer and good friend of ours, Joanna Teeters. The first single that just came out of the many songs on the album is called Crossbreeze, and there are a few cool drum things going on it that I wanted to break down so you can play along. And you will find this breakdown as well as the drumless track for this song on my website, jpbouvetmethod.com, in case you want to try out what we talk about today and play along. So here we go. Sounds like this. This is just, I'll play a little bit of it so you can get the idea. This is the main beat that we're going to think about because there are some subtle but interesting things going on with it. Here we go.
I've been laying low, I've been overwhelmed, I've been stuck in a daze, seems I can't catch a break. I've been needing a moment, but I can't make space. I've been off of my rocker, seems like such a waste of time. And if I leave here, I still won't be empty. I'm filled up to the brim with fears. But if I stay, I risk being paralyzed. I need to get outside. Crossbreeze, cleanse me.
All right, let's get that far. The main groove we're talking about is this verse groove. If I play it without the song, it sounds like this. So there are a few things going on. First, let's dwell at the most general level. This this song started with actually a groove that the guitarist Asher had come up with and programmed in the computer. He's just making music all the time, so I think this was a seed. He was like, okay, this could be cool to lay a groove over for the Jape songs. He sent me that and a guitar part, and it's really close to what this ended up being. So it's an interesting starting place that the beat I'm playing on the acoustic drums began as an electronically programmed groove or loop. There will be some further thoughts on that, but that's a good place to start. The other thing we're thinking about is sounds, right? So for a lot of this album, but particularly this song, the sounds are tight, right? So we don't have big open clangy drums and toms. Actually, my toms are very open and clangy right now, but you're not going to hear much of them. So got a really tight snare. I think I might have actually used a 13x3 PDP, old PDP piccolo snare I have on this song. And a lot of times what I do is I actually wrap my old janglies up in this cloth and put it on the snare. Add some nice weight. It's super muffled. And as you can hear in this track, again, the snare is super tight, but it's mic'd really close. Here's what it sounds like.
I've been laying low,
So it's got a little bit of smack to it, but the other thing that's particular to this song is I'm not going to be playing super hard. So we want to close mic'd and stuff. We want the drums to really feel close and have a lot of detail. So we're going to get the smack because we're close to it, and I'm playing it at a medium volume, but I'm not going to be like beating the crap out of the snare drum, for example. So in this, the demonstration I just did, I was trying to play at about the volume that we actually recorded it at, which would be, again, the sound changes significantly if I go. And you're getting now you're getting the full smack of the rim shot. You're getting like kind of I think kind of a cardboardy flap as the attack of the snare. So anyways, we're playing quietly. We're thinking about the drum sounds. I think when we recorded this, I actually like moved my toms out of the way so there wouldn't be any extra ring going on when I hit my kick drum. Everything's super muffled because again, we're sort of, not quite entirely, sort of imitating, more like inspired by the electronic beats that this comes from, which is going to have really tight sounds and obviously not like room noise because it doesn't exist in the computer if you're programming that kind of beat. So, at the most general level, that's where we're at. If we zoom in a little bit and think about the other last thing sound-wise is on this song, very intentionally not playing a lot of crashes. Right? This was something we sort of identified early, maybe even talked about as we're sort of working on the parts together. And this album has much more specific parts than most of our albums. Our last album was like an improvised, heavy jazz album where there weren't really parts on the drums a lot of the times at all. But this one has some really specific parts. So as we're working out the details, we kind of started orbiting around this idea like, this isn't a crash-heavy song. Right, so we come in right off the bat with this intro. There's no crash. Like we don't really hit crashes until the pre-chorus. There's a couple moments where it's just like, okay, we need a crash. This is the place for the crash. And I feel like since we held off so hard on that, the effect of the crash, I always feel like when I hit it, is really quite a bit more impactful. Right? If you listen to the beginning of the song, again, no big crash on one, it has an effect.
I've been laying low.
And it leaves a lot of room for like building the energy more when we do hit the crashes, for example, in the bridge. So anyways, let's talk about the actual groove going on here. So here it is again. So there's a couple things that are worth noting about this groove that are sort of interesting. One is the fact that it's half swung, and the other is what the hi-hat is doing dynamically. So if I take the hi-hat out, and let's think about half swung for a second here, this is the actual kick and snare beat. It's a super simple groove. The hi-hat is what gives it a lot of its complexity, if you will. So the groove by itself, without hi-hat, without some of those extra ghost notes or extra anticipatory accents on the snare, the core groove is so pretty simple. But you'll notice it's half swung. So it's not quite perfectly straight. It's not quite perfectly swung, meaning it's not quite perfectly on the triplet grid. It's somewhere in the middle. So if I play the groove, here's the original groove, half swung. Here's what it sounds like perfectly straight. Here's it fully swung. So this is adhering to the triplet grid. 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 1, 2, 4. The first and third triplet. Da da ba da ba da ba. That kind of has like a galloping feel, da 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 ba da ba da ba da, and somewhere in the middle again is the groove. So if I just play singles, half swung, then you really hear the effect. Okay, not straight, not swung, it's in the middle. Right, so there's a course on my website called the Swanky Half Swung Grooves course that teaches you how to do this kind of thing in case you want to actually nail it down. It always feels like it can be a little bit ambiguous. Like, am I half swinging? Am I 50% swinging? Am I 30% swinging? What am I supposed to be doing? And in that course, we use the Rhythm Bot, which has a swing adjustment meter, basically, so you can have a half-swung metronome, to basically train your ear and really make it so it's not a guessing game anymore. And that's been a course I'm really proud of because it has cracked that code for a lot of people when this usually gets taught in like, I don't know, just kind of listen and feel it out kind of way. So it's nice to have a step-by-step process with it. In case you're interested in that, it's on the website. But so that's the underlying track. You've got half swung railroad tracks going on, but instead of playing singles, we're actually playing a linear beat, right? So usually when you learn half swung stuff, first you'll just learn to play the right hand half swung, play some grooves, but a next step is to actually not have a timekeeper necessarily, and play linear stuff, fills, and keep all of it half swung. So now, so it's a linear groove, which means you're only hitting one thing at a time, and all of those things are on the half swung 16th note grid. So that's the first notable thing about this groove. The second interesting thing that's going on is the way that the hi-hat dynamics are being played. So listen to it again and see if you can crack the code, because I'm following a very specific rule with the hi-hat that imitates another electronic music tool. So here's what it sounds like. Think you got it? So the tool we're imitating here is called side chaining. And the way that side chaining is typically used in like a lot of particularly pop music, electronic music in general, is basically you side chain one instrument to another one. So you side chain, in this case, the hi-hat to the kick drum, so that when I hit the kick drum, the hi-hat ducks in volume. A lot of times you hear this with a synth. So you know when you get that really pulsing feel, you've got a pop song that's going dunk, 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 and the synth is kind of going dunk, 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 dunk. It's got the it grows. The kick drum brings the volume down, and then it grows until the next kick drum. So that's basically what we're thinking about the hi-hat. And the reason people do that, from my understanding as a not really a producer, is that it allows the kick drum to hit harder. It essentially makes space for that kick drum to come out. And of course, like the pulsing effect that it creates is its own thing that has its own sort of momentum to it as well. So that's what we're kind of dealing with here. When I hit the kick drum, the hi-hat volume ducks out. It actually ducks out completely. That's part of why it's linear. It ducks out to 0. So in theory, there's a hi-hat with the kick drum. But because the kick drum, the hi-hat is sidechained to the kick drum, that hi-hat volume is 0. And then after that kick drum, the hi-hat fades back in. So if I simplify, it's like simple enough. It gets a little interesting then when you start playing like rhythms with the hi-hat or the kick drum. So no matter what rhythm I play, the hi-hat has to adapt. 3 E and a 4 E and a. So the hi-hat's hi-hat's always following this pattern, resetting. Anyways, same thing happens with the snare. It's also a sidechain to the snare. So sidechain to the kick and the snare, basically any accent that happens deletes that hi-hat and lets it grow. So now, if I play the beat, you know exactly what's happening with the hi-hat dynamics. If I slow it down a little bit. Right? Sometimes I also just leave some hi-hats out, like at the very beginning. That's just a space that we're adding. But when the hi-hat is playing, it's following this sort of imitated sidechain rule. So, that's the important stuff of what's going on in the groove. Now, let's listen to it again. Here's what it sounds like.
I've been laying low, I've been overwhelmed, I've been stuck in a daze, seems I can't catch a break. I've been needing a moment, but I can't make space. I've been off of my...
We're going to drop the 1 right here. So skip 1. Jed, the bass player, also drops the 1. Very effective little transition.
Seems like such a waste of time. And if I leave here,
Reverse crash.
I still won't be empty. I'm filled up to the brim with fears. But if I stay, I risk being paralyzed.
And we're on to the chorus, which is nothing too interesting. Little break. Same beat.
Wash me clean now, turn me inside out. Crossbreeze, cleanse me, bring me dry, make me purify.
Bing. Big bell instead of a crash.
Searching high and low.
So verse 2, same groove as verse 1 basically. Chorus, again, nothing too interesting to talk about there. The last little bit that gets a little spicy, if you will, is the bridge. So as the bridge comes up, it alternates between 7, I think what we can call 7/4 and 9/4. And you'll hear that might sound complicated, but once you kind of get the way that the chords change, it's intended to feel not strange. So let me find it real quick. I was going to start with a bar of 3/4. Dun, 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 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 and 6, 7 and 1. Right, so this is how I hear it, right? You've got the 3/4 up front, then you've got 7, 9, 7, 9, 7, 9, and you're done. Here you go. And we just try to slowly build, right? This is where we get all the crashes. Now the crashes come in. It's a totally different scene. We're on the ride. The sounds change quite a bit. The guys, guitar and bass, kind of keep the same sound, so it's on me mostly to switch it up. And we start to build. You'll hear some like fills come in as the chorus builds, but really just trying to keep it not confusing and keep it straightforward sounding and feeling for the audience as these interesting time signatures pass.
Through the trees from the east, carrying a sense of peace.
5, 6.
Watch the sky purge the clouds, hoping I see clearly now. Feel my lungs breathing deep,
then we're at the chorus, which is really similar to the other chorus. So you can think about this bridge in several ways, right? You could think like 3/4, 4/4, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4, right? So it's like alternating between 3/4 and extra 3/4 and 5/4 bar. But it doesn't really matter how you think about it. At the end of the day, honestly, I've never actually counted this part. So yes, there's interesting time going on, but because it's repetitive and it's relatively simple, like the melody will get stuck in your head very quickly. You either know it's either the long one or the short one, right? It's 3/4 extra bars or it's 5/4 extra bars. I never thought about it until thinking about this song breakdown, needing to explain it. But I do feel like it's important to emphasize that you don't always really need to get your analytical hat on. If the music is working for everyone and it's fairly obvious to everyone, or it's easy enough to follow what's going on, you might never really switch into counting mode, which is important to hear, because a lot of times I think we feel like, okay, if we're gonna do odd times, we need to be doing something complicated and crazy and sort of like weird musically. So Asher's really good at writing odd times that don't feel very odd. And it also helps just generally to be writing in like something 4/4 instead of over 8. When you get over 4, like 7/4, 3/4, 5/4, you keep this pulse. You can keep nodding your head to it all the way through. Right? So you don't have that kind of like skip that you get with things like 7/8, 5/8, 5/16, stuff like that. Those are all great too. But when it's 4, the groove can keep going. And the priority in this song is definitely the groove. So that is what's going on in the bridge. Kind of interesting. And that's pretty much it. So we've got some half swing, we've got linear grooves, we've got sidechain hi-hat dynamics, which are kind of fun, and you could apply to kind of whatever groove you're doing. And we've got some weird time signatures in the bridge. And that's it, folks. I'm not going to play the whole song here because you can go check it out. It's everywhere on Spotify. It's on Apple Music. It's wherever you stream music. But I will play, let's say, from the bridge out, just to give us a little something sweet. I've got a drumless version of it here. It has no click, so you're just going to have to forgive me for not being perfectly on time. But here we go. Thanks for watching. Crossbreeze by Childish Japes. Check it out. Follow the band. And if you want to dive into Swanky half swung grooves and some groove concepts in general, check out JP Bouvet Method.com, where I teach a lot of these things in a step-by-step manner. We teach you to improvise and be creative on the drums. It's a piece of cake once you break it down, and it's pretty fun stuff. But for now, just enjoy this, and here we go. Let me find the bridge.
Cleanse me, bring me dry, make me purify. Through the trees from the east, carrying a sense of peace. Watch the sky purge the clouds, hoping I see clearly now. Feel my lungs breathing deep, rinsing me with sweet relief. Let it flow into my soul. Wish that it would take me home. Crossbreeze, cleanse me, wash me clean now, turn me inside out. Crossbreeze, cleanse me, bring me dry, make me purify. Crossbreeze, cleanse me, wash me clean now, turn me inside out. Crossbreeze, cleanse me, bring me dry, make me purified.
There it is, folks. If you want to play along with the drumless track, or study some of these concepts, check out jpbouvetmethod.com. But more importantly, check out Crossbreeze by Childish Japes. We're really proud of this album, and we're really excited to be putting the music out finally. Thanks for watching. Hope you're having a good day. Talk to you soon.